Hello everyone, another episode of CTO Corner, and with me as always, Niv Raz. How are you, Niv?
Hi Ariel, how do you do?
Very good, very good. We are still at home in a lockdown in Israel, but hopefully it will be the last one, I hope.
I just saw in the news today, so somebody comment on the quarantine extension said, okay, now we're going to move to agile because every 6 days they say, okay, let's extend more 6 days. So okay, now we're doing a quarantine in agile way. So it sounds funny.
Yeah.
So, but we are not going to talk about COVID-19 and quarantine from this perspective. Menny, we are excited to host you here today. To be honest, really exciting about this episode.
I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for hosting me.
Right. And today, it looks like we're trying to everybody talking about in January and December about summarize the last year and talking about some predictions about 2021 and the next year, etc. But I believe what we spoke about, let's try to focus on the lessons that 2020 teach us and what we can take from these lessons to 2021. Because as far as I know, 2020 wasn't just a COVID year. Of course, unfortunately, millions of illnesses, peoples, and death rate hit all-time highs since the Spanish epidemic. But I saw in 2020 the challenging year of the digital transformation that was a big. How can I focus it? It was a big issue if we look about. Sorry, guys, I hope that you didn't hear this. I had some interrupt here. Sorry. So in 2020 was a great year for digital transformation, but was a bad year for cyber because it had really exponential growth of cyber attacks and cyber challenges, and really historical events of cyber events we saw in 2020. And before we begin, so Menny, I'm already familiar with you. If you don't mind to introduce yourself to our audience.
Yes, I'll be happy to introduce myself to the audience. Hello, everyone. Thank you for listening. So my name is Menny Barzilay. I do a few things with my life. I have a newsletter, the name of which is Think Cyber. Once a week, I send the most interesting news in cyber. You're more than willing to join. It's free on my website, mennyb.com, mennyb.com. I'm a CEO of a company called Cytactic. It's a cybersecurity strategy services company. We mostly work with big organizations, the management of big organizations, the board of directors. We're doing a lot of work in many different subdomains of the cybersecurity world. We are very, very good with crisis management. We help a lot of companies around the world to deal with cyber crises. So this is another thing that I do. I write, I give talks, I research a lot on cybersecurity. So cyber. This is all I know. Don't ask me about anything else.
We had you also Menny in the Europe Cloud Summit, and I can say that I got a few messages from people. After I listened to Menny, I didn't listen to anymore. So it's really great to have you with us, and I think that you gave the idea of what we will talk about, and we will do it because I think that it will be a little longer than we do. We will split it into 2 episodes. So first of all, be ready to be split, Menny, and let's go, Niv. The first question.
So when talking about 2020, as I said at the beginning, everybody just popped in the mind. Of course, COVID-19 was a horrible epidemic that started in 2020 and changed the way we live and the way we cut life and how things go and how realities looks like. So, but as I said, so I saw 2020 as a digital transformation year, and due to the digital transformation acceleration that happened in 2020, the cyber risk really evolved in a way that was also historical from statistics perspective. So, do you know why, Menny? Can you elaborate about that? What happened in 2020 that just took the cyber risk so mature?
Yeah, sure. So indeed, like you said, in the past, I think year, maybe a bit more than a year, we saw an amazing growth in cybersecurity threats. And the incidents that happened during 2020 and in the beginning of 2021, and to some extent at the end of 2019, are some of the most amazing things we've ever seen in the cybersecurity world. And the question is obviously why? Why did we see so much growth in the cyber threats, And the answer is, to some extent, it's not the full answer, but there is a very important aspect of how COVID-19 came into play. And one of the things that everyone should remember is that hackers and other threat actors, or the bad guys, are also people. And like people, like every other person in the world, COVID-19 affected them as well. Many of them lost their day job. Many of them struggled to finance their day-to-day. And many of them tried to find new ways to make money through cybercrime. Maybe they were already criminals in the cyberspace, but they didn't invest a lot of time and effort on that. But because COVID-19 left them to struggled at home for days and weeks and months, they had a lot of time on their hands. So they used that to invest more in the cybercrime. Another thing, that very important aspect that happened in the past 12 months is, again, like you said, is the digitalization of processes. So companies in a very short time were forced to allow their employees to connect from abroad, from their houses. So many companies that never thought that they will allow employees to do that started allowing their employees to work from home. And that became the status quo. Now, implementing remote access solutions is a very risky thing to begin with, especially if you do that under pressure, because the company has to continue on working, and that's supposed to be live right now, not in 6 months or 12 months. It's supposed to be live right now. So if you take this risky project, you do it very, very fast, you cut some corners, and that leads to a situation where a lot of companies have dramatically increased their attack surface, and were left exposed, and obviously hackers use that. So I think those two things are probably some of the most important aspects that influence the dramatic growth in cyber threats.
I can say that I consult one of the biggest companies, let's say, in Israel, and when they open a lot during the first lockdown that we had in Israel, and I asked one of the managers there, you was sure that this is the right thing to do? Was the right thing to do to open it? And he told me we didn't have any other option. We had to open the gates, but we tried to minimize the risk, etc., etc. But like you said, if the COVID wasn't there, they will never open the surface. So really a good point, I think.
So yes, Menny, I totally agree with you about. So the answer, so your assumptions about what's going on in 2020 that caused this exponential growth, in cyber risk. Yes, so opening the gate is the first one, but I can look on my mother that before COVID-19 didn't thought about the possibility to buy from supermarkets online, because said I want to go physically, and now his credit card and her identity is exposed online because now she must do that online because there is no other possibilities for that. So I assume the digital transformation itself perhaps is more important part and on what took us to the next problem, to the next, or open the gate for more risk from cyber? What do you think about it? What is the biggest challenge, or what is the biggest, how can I say it, the biggest reason cyber risk really increased in 2020?
So I agree with your example. I think it's a great example. When your mother was going to buy stuff at the grocery shop, she was cyber-wise, she was kind of safe. But the moment she moved to buying things online, she again increased her attack surface. Suddenly, she is exposed to most threats. And I think this is a very important rule in the cyberspace, is that any technological solution creates both new opportunities and new threats. So if you want to try to understand what's going to happen in the cybersecurity world in the years to come, you need to try and understand what's going to happen in the technological world in the years to come, because every new product and every new service will create new cybersecurity issues. And the world is becoming more dependent on technologies, with smart houses, smart cities, autonomous cars, drones, robotics, artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and so on and so forth. Each and every one of those things will create new problems. So with autonomous cars, we will have to have cybersecurity solutions for autonomous cars. With smart cities, we'll have cybersecurity for that. Smart houses, cybersecurity for that. Wearables, cybersecurity for that. Robotics. So cybersecurity as technology or innovation is a two-sided coin, and every change creates both opportunities and threats. So definitely digitalization, the fact that humanity became much more dependent on technology, created many, many new risks.
I totally agree with that. You know, I had some statistics in the past, how many bank robbers has been caught, and terminologically it's a rate of how many banks have been robbed in 2020 or 2019. And I'm not encouraging people to do cyber crimes, okay, but unfortunately, most of the cyber crimes criminals aren't caught. Okay, so I assuming when people trying to fall for criminal activities, and they look what is the best option for them, and unfortunately today cyber criminals, more of them are not caught. So that's a problem. If we can compare that for a bank rob or personal robbing, if somebody break into somebody's house, so that's a problem for that. So that's popping us to the next question. So I remember, and you talked about cars and you talked about IoTs, and in 2020 it was really interesting event that has been published about some cyber criminal. I assume it was a Russian hacker, the part of the advertising that was about around that trying to hack to Tesla. That's really spooky, okay? Because I'm just thinking of the fact from like a Star Wars episode that somebody trying to control my car from Russian because I'm American or not. So it's really interesting to just the thought about that is really interesting. And do you know what happened over there?
Yeah, so you know what, this is one of the most interesting stories that we had in the past year, the Russian hacker and Tesla. So the story goes like that. There was a Russian citizen who lives in Russia who had a friend that works in Tesla in the United States. Now, this Tesla employee was also a Russian-speaking person, so they were friends. I don't know how, and they met in 2016. And they kept in touch, and a few months back, this Russian citizen traveled to the United States, and he called his friend from Tesla, and he told him, you know what? I go with some of my friends to travel in some of the most beautiful places in the United States. It's an amazing weekend. You should join us. And the Tesla employee joined them, and they had so much fun going to so much beautiful places. In retrospective, if you would ask the Tesla employee, he will tell you that it was something there was a bit strange. This Russian guy named Igor, he never took any pictures and he never wanted to participate in any pictures. We were in some of the most beautiful places in the United States, but somehow this guy avoided participating in any pictures. So nevertheless, they had such a wonderful weekend. And at the end of this weekend, the Igor, the Russian citizen, came to his friend from Tesla and he told him, well, we had fun, right? And Tesla employee said yes. And he said, a funny thing, I don't know what you would think about it, but I have friends who are willing to pay you a lot of money if you are willing to do them a small favor. And the Tesla employee said, okay, how much is a lot of money? And he said $500,000, either in cash or Bitcoin or whatever you want. And Tesla employee said, wow, that's a lot of money. What is the small favor I'm requested to complete? And Igor told him, well, we'll give you USB stick, and you just have to connect it to your PC at your office. Like it's 10-second work. It doesn't even have to be your PC. You can connect it to someone else's PC. And it's a 10-second work, and you will get for this 10-second work $500,000. And the Tesla employee said, well, I have to think about it. And Igor said, well, I'm here in the next 2 weeks. Just let me know. Tesla employee went back to his office, immediately notified his managers. The managers called the FBI. The FBI came to talk to this Tesla employee, and he told him, well, you have to meet Igor again. We want to record him asking you to hack into Tesla. So he called Igor. He said, I have some thoughts. Let's meet. They met again. Tesla employee said, I have some fears. I fear that they might catch me. So Igor said, don't worry about that. What we're going to do is that we're going to do a DDoS attack, a distributed denial of service attack. This is a type of attack that would take Tesla's websites down and everything that they have online down. And Igor said that will keep the security team occupied, and they wouldn't notice that she just did this 10-second thing, so they will be too busy. And Igor said, well, that sounds like a big risk. I don't know if $500,000 is enough. And Igor said, well, we'll give you $1 million. And we were willing to give you some of the money beforehand, just right now. And Igor said, okay, sounds like a deal. And he went away, and the FBI arrested Igor. And this is such a great story because of two things. Number one, it has a happy ending. Not many stories in the cybersecurity world has happy endings, so I love this one. But the other very interesting aspect is the risk that Igor was willing to take upon himself. Usually a hacker would enjoy the anonymity that the internet provides. So the hacker will sit in a country like Pakistan or Indonesia, and they will attack someone in the United States. And they will do that because they will sit in their houses or in their countries, and they will know that it would be very, very hard for the US government to put their hands on them. But for a hacker to pack a suitcase, to travel to the United States with his own passport, to meet the person who works in the company that you're about to hack, and to offer $1 million, that's just to show you how much money they are thinking that they will make out of this attack. And, assuming that they were about to attack Tesla with a ransomware attack, some of those attacks today, the ransom is in the sum of $30 million. And if you have the information, you can resell the information that you stole from Tesla. And I'm sure there are a lot of car manufacturers around the world who would be more than happy to put their hands on the information that sits inside Tesla. So the takeaway from that is that hackers are becoming bolder, and if you trust your employees, it's great, but do you trust them $1 million to say no to $1 million offer?
Money. Really interesting, because I had an article that I wrote about the insider threats. I said once we go and 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 investing a lot of money in our border, in our walls and firewalls and perimeters and etc. It's really rough because you said $1 million, but if a nationwide want to attack some company, $1 million, it's a pennies for them. So if they want to pay more, and now that starts to be really challenging. And I'm just for our audience. So one example is perhaps it's a ransomware. The second one, perhaps they're trying to kill somebody using to take control Tesla computers. So again, you don't know what he tried to achieve. If that's in a ransomware, I don't know. I didn't read this article, so I don't know if he tried to achieve a ransomware and just ask $50 million or $100 million from Tesla, or just try to control some vehicle of some known person that's driving Tesla in the United States and perhaps kill them. You don't know that, but again, that's a cyber criminal fact. So it's really spooky and really, and we need to think how we can control and protect this big risk, okay? Because cyber risks are big. And if you don't talking about death, so another story that caught my eye is some women that died due to some cyber event. So can you elaborate about that?
Well, that was another super interesting story that everybody should definitely know. And I love the story for several reasons. Obviously, it's a terrible story. It's not like it doesn't have a good ending like the other one, but it is a very important test case that we should all learn. And actually, Ariel, in the conference that you invited me, I talked about this specific story, and I predicted that this exactly what's going to happen, and it happened step by step, like what I wrote about. And so the story goes like that. Hackers hacked a hospital in Germany, in Düsseldorf, and used ransomware to lock all of the computers. And because of that, the hospital couldn't admit new patients. So if a patient would come to the hospital, they would tell him, no, you have to go to another hospital. And the next near hospital was about 32 kilometers away. And in one case, there was this woman. She was, I think, 70 years old or something like that, 70, right? And she had to have, she had like something which is very dramatic, and she needed a treatment, urgent treatment, right? And the emergency vehicle was on the way to the hospital, and they called them. We said, well, we have this lady. She needs a treatment right now. We're coming there. We will be there in like 10 minutes. And the hospital said, well, we cannot admit you. You have to go to another hospital. And because of that, the treatment that she received was delayed in 1 hour. And she died. And immediately the newspaper said, was this first death because of a cyber attack? And everybody talked about that. And well, to begin with, it's not the first death because of a cyber attack. And if you want to hear more about that, I think the recording of the talk that I gave at the conference is online. But the interesting aspect is that what the prosecutors said, that if they will be able to prove that this was a death by cyber, then the hackers will be charged with murder or homicide or something like that. That's very, very interesting. After 2 months of investigation, the prosecutors eventually concluded that this was not because of the cyber attack. She would have died anyway. That was clear to everyone from day one. But they said, we're not going to say that this was cyber-related attack. And then all the newspapers started saying, well, this was a hoax, this wasn't a cyber-related incident, and so on and so forth. But if you read carefully, if you start to investigate on what exactly happened there, you see that this is not a clear cut. To begin with, an interesting notion, the prosecutor said that even if she died 1 hour earlier because of this attack. Not that most people think that there are for someone to be charged with murder, there should be one of two options. Either this person would leave without the attack or die because of the attack. No, in that sense, it was obvious for everyone she's about to die. But even if the attack killed her 1 hour earlier, then those hackers are in charge of her death. So they said, the second thing that they said is that we didn't have the legal tools to prove that the cyber attack did that. So they didn't say that she didn't die because of a cyber attack. They said that they couldn't prove that. And the last thing that they said is that if we had the ability to prove that, we probably had to prosecute the hospital employees as well, the cybersecurity people of the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very interesting thing, because I'm not sure that a lot of cybersecurity people understand that they might be liable for incident that killed people. Now, with hospitals, it is very obvious that cyber attacks can kill people. But this could also happen to a lot of other companies out there. And I don't think that people understand. Every company that have chat information might have information about people who cheat on their husband and on their wife. And I'm sure that one thing that we're going to see in the future is some of those chat messages app being hacked, and all the information from all the chats will be leaked to the internet. And one husband will discover that his wife is cheating on him, and he will kill either his wife or the person she is cheating with. We will learn about gay people that live in places where being gay is very dangerous and you might get killed for that. And their sexual orientation will be revealed because of a cyber attack, and they might get killed because of that. And we will learn a lot of other secrets through hacking incidents in companies that don't even understand that they have information that might eventually kill people.
Mm-hmm.
So cyber attacks kill people. They killed before with, for example, incidents like Ashley Madison, where people committed suicide because their names were in the list of this website. And they will kill again, and it will happen more and more in the years to come.
So it's interesting, the legal liabilities you talked about. My master's is in law, so it's really interesting that when we're thinking about when cyber criminal and cyber activities will be, when this cyber hacker will be in charge of a murder or any indirect result to his crime, I'm feeling hard to believe, even because, and if you look about what's going on in the Supreme Court in the United States about the NSA and Apple court about opening phones and what the legal liabilities of even if indirect attacks. So it's really, I agree with you that that's a future, but today there is a little big problems, from legal and ethics about that. It's really interesting. We spoke about the Russian, and we spoke about what's going on in the future.
Let me just to respond to what you said.
Yeah.
Gartner, which everybody I assume who hears us know, they had this paper that they published a few months back, and they said that in 2024 they predict that 75% of CEOs will be personally liable for cyber attacks that cause physical damage. So even though that's not happening right now, this is an emerging trend, and I think that this is going to dramatically change in the years to come.
Really interesting.
We talk about a few examples. We want to to cut it right now and continue in the next chapter.
So everybody, stay tuned. We're going to the next chapter. Will be super interesting. Also, we're talking about SolarWinds. We're going to talk about really spies, tweeters, and more stuff. So thank you everybody for listening to us, and stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.